So, let's talk about the supplies you'll need, alternatives and nice to haves. First of all, you need a kind of sanded paper. This system works with gessoed paper too, but that's not an easy story, because you'll have to use an airbrush to get nice and even coverage of the gesso. It's much easier to buy yourself sanded paper. The most used ones are UART, Canson Mi-Teintes Touch and Fisher 400. I prefer the Fisher 400 because blending on Fisher 400 gives me the far best results, but I've made drawings on UART too. The Fisher 400 comes in two different colors, the gold one and the buff one. Both of them work just fine, and only when I'm having very light or bright colors in my subject, I slightly prefer the buff one. In all the other drawings, the gold one is totally okay too. So, see what you can find or order. That will differ in every country. Then you'll need colored pencils, of course. In the first layers, you will want a drier, good blendable colored pencil. Great brands for your first layers are Polychromos, the Derwent Procolor or the Lyra Rembrandt Polycolor. Since the Derwent Procolor has lightfast issues and my box of Polychromos is the most affordable here and they are the most lightfast ones of these three, I will take the Polychromos for this project. Of course you can use waxier pencils too, but the blending will be a little more difficult. Due to the wax, the pencils stick a little more to the surface. Waxier pencils are pencils like Luminance and Prismacolor. For sharp details in the final layers, it's cool to use the Pablos from Caran d'Ache. But for this course, I will take the Polychromos only. The third group of supplies are the brush and pencil supplies. The colored pencil painting kit contains 5 products. Powder blender, a nice powder that makes blending easier without ruining your sponges. A textured fixative. This is a fixative that fixates previous layers and restores the tooth of the paper. And the final fixative. This fixative fixates the last layers and protects your work. And you have the titanium white powder. This is a powder that can be applied on certain areas to create a ground for bright colors. It can be used for white areas and it can be mixed with touch-up texture to create a kind of white paint. And finally, the fifth is the touch-up texture. This fluid is the same as a textured fixative and can be applied to small areas of your drawing and, as said before, can be mixed with the titanium white powder. Next, you'll need some blending tools. I always use a Pan Pastel tool. This small one is my favorite because it allows me to work very precise. But I have bigger ones too. Another nice blending tool, for example for softening a little edge, is this small Bristol brush. And some of my students like those color shapers to blend. They are not necessary, but if you already have them, I suggest you try them to see if they work for you. Okay, and then you'll need some other supplies, like a pencil sharpener. Make sure it's a sharp one, otherwise you will damage your pencils. A pair of scissors, tape and transfer paper. Make sure your transfer lines can be erased and lifted with putty or with an eraser. I use blue Saral transfer paper, but graphite transfer paper is okay too. That brings me to the putty. We call it buddies, but some call it sticky stuff. Normally it's used to stick posters or notes to the wall. Then you'll have to protect your work from the oils from your hands. This can be done with a piece of glassine, a tissue or another piece of paper. A little brush to apply the white paint mixture can be nice, and a little cup or so to prepare a little of the mixture of titanium white powder and the touch-up texture is nice too. And last but not least, you will need a sturdy drawing board, a desk or a table to stick your drawing to. You'll will want to tape your drawing to it to prevent it from buckling when it's sprayed and to prevent it from bending once sprayed. The supply list can be found in the college notes.